Since 1961, Quartz Plumbing has offered friendly, reliable service to residences all over Bergen County, New Jersey. We are a fourth-generation family-owned business, unmatched in customer satisfaction and professionalism while working in your home. We are the hydronic heating and water filtration specialists with a workmanship guarantee to put you at ease so you can rest comfortably. We offer financing for those big projects that catch you off guard, and we have a network of excellent contractors in all fields for any project you wish to tackle. Call our responsive office team, and we'll dispatch a handsome and educated technician to lay the smackdown on all your plumbing issues. You can also find us at quartzplumbing.com, search us on Google, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Like, subscribe, and share, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Plum Bums Podcast, the entrepreneur show where we talk about small business, tradesmen getting into the trades, starting a business, and kind of me and Max have been here for the past 15 episodes now. This will be our 15th episode.
Yeah, this is an exciting one.
Where we talk about encouraging people to get into, start a small business, become an entrepreneur, kind of bypass the whole, not necessarily bypass the whole college thing, but kind of bypass the whole college thing, if you can.
Yeah.
Save a little bit of money. We actually have a really cool episode for you guys today. We're down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania with Tracey and Jeff from GoBigSmallBiz.com. They're an advocacy group for small business rights. They glorify the entrepreneur just like me and Max do. And before I, you know what, I'm going to introduce you guys right now, Jeff and Tracey. But we found you. I remember. Do you remember when I called?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember when I called you guys? Me and Max were headed back from Ohio to do that. We were doing that interview with the farmers, and I saw the billboard on the side of 76, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I liked your logo, the coloring and everything.
Should give him a call.
And I called you right from the truck, and the next day you called me back, and we had a great conversation.
Did you pick up the phone? Did you answer?
No, it was Carol.
Oh.
And we weren't sure how you even got Carol's number.
I just called right from the billboard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's still a mystery.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Okay. Well, that's kind of strange. Well, we have these special skills that no one knows about by finding private numbers, I guess. But so Jeff and Tracey, GoBigSmallBiz.com. Now, before we talk about the company that you have now, and is it considered a company?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it like a 501c3 or is it a nonprofit or is it something that?
No, it's a corporation.
Okay, it's a corporation.
We intentionally left it a corporation. We actually did, well, there's a couple things here around that, but it was another corporation under the health club. And so we kept the health club corporation open as an entity.
Yeah.
And then we just changed the name because the health club, as you'll learn later, is one of the businesses that we lost in the pandemic, specifically and mostly due to government overreach, shutdowns, masks, mandates.
He's
we'll
going
go there
for
later.
it already.
No, go for it.
But
No, that stuff
and we
never
filed
happened.
it as a 501c6 after that because we thought being a nonprofit it'd be easier to raise funds,
Right.
etc. But what we learned was even as a C6, there's so many restrictions and so much reporting. It would be a very heavy lift, particularly when Go Big Small Biz becomes a national entity, which
Yeah.
is the big vision for it. And beyond all that, we don't want to be bipartisan. We're agnostic. We're not.
It's a good way of putting it.
We're not. I mean, we're Republican, but it's not about being right or left.
Exactly.
We're agnostic about our views on the issues that affect small business. So we're strictly looking at business issues,
Yeah.
legislation that's being proposed that's harmful to small business. Mm-hmm. And so we stay in that lane. As of today, it just feels as though most of the left are writing the policies and legislation that are harmful to small business. There's some righties in there too. But,
Oh, yeah. It does go beyond. Listen, I agree. It is.
He's going in. There's no.
I'm just answering the corporation question because we get asked it a lot.
No,
and
that's fair.
we're very
That's fair.
clear. So our base is a membership / subscription base. So businesses can join our subscription, and it's a subscription expense to the business. So
Okay.
it's still a way for people to write the stuff off, which is what they look for.
I got it.
you know,
Okay.
or a larger contribution could just be a membership contribution. So, but being a corporation, we literally can do and say what we want.
Yeah.
We're not going to get audited by
Yeah.
the nonprofit,
Right.
gurus of whatever.
Yep.
They could just stay out of our business, just like the government.
And there's a redemption part of that,
How so?
because now we've built this business under our health club that failed. So
Okay.
we did that on purpose. We didn't make a new one. We thought we're gonna have
Just
some
keep it
redemption.
going.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
Why
it
don't
was.
Restoration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We tried not to do this business like 4 times.
Really?
Yeah. We started doing research. We'll give you more backdrop on that
Well,
later.
just to interrupt real quick, I tried to not be a plumber my whole life,
Yeah.
and that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, ultimately, it just ended up felt like it was a calling,
Yeah.
and that wouldn't it be cool if the very thing our government used to shut us down and try to run us bankrupt
was
was a
health.
business that prospered and
yeah.
lifted
Yeah.
up and supported entrepreneurs, small business people. I mean, 48-9% of our country's economy is on the
Small
backs
business.
of small business.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a big deal.
That's how you build wealth.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
basic economics 101 is how you build wealth is to glorify small business, allow them to flourish.
Yeah.
Because that's what's building
How you
the
build the
economy.
middle
That's
class.
the root of the middle class and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for some reason, our legislators don't on both sides of the spectrum.
Agreed.
So we talk about we don't talk about politics too much unless it directly affects small business and entrepreneurs trying to come up with barbaric legislation and stuff. And I got to be honest, the COVID stuff is I'm 42, so I haven't seen a lot. Okay, but that was some of the most insane stuff that was put on the backs of small business owners in general, out of nowhere, with not a lot of backing to back up. It was just like shots in the dark on how are we going to do this? Oh, let's just shut everyone down. 2 weeks. Let's just do 2 weeks. 8 months later,
2 weeks turned into what, 3 years?
and
3
nobody.
years and-
Still the ripple
3 years.
effect is
3 years in
happening.
New Jersey.
yeah.
Yeah.
New Jersey
Yep.
was brutal.
Yeah.
It really was brutal.
I have a friend that moved. He was done. He
Oh,
went
yeah.
to Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
A lot
We
of people.
lo-
New Jersey, New York, and California. It was happening before COVID, but we're the fastest states. I read an article where the fastest states where people were moving out of quicker than they were moving into.
and why does it feel like they keep double downing on it?
Yeah.
Why do they keep doing it? Like
don't
people
know.
are moving, that's revenue and taxes and they keep double downing.
I
Yeah.
don't understand.
I
I don't
think
it doesn't make there's no common sense in
no,
it.
no.
I think the reality of that time period was nobody really knew what to do with this. Nobody really understood what was actually really happening. I mean, I went to Tracey at about 12 o'clock on the 16th of March. Was it the 16th was the shutdown?
Yeah, because the 17th.
And I told her, I said, we need to send everybody home. And then about 3 hours later, the governor came on and shut the state down.
Now, our governor in particular, his first statement was, I wouldn't go to a gym.
What?
We were dead right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
every
then
time
and
he
there.
came on the news
We had
with
more
something, we had
cancellations.
more cancellations.
Oh my God.
That's
phone
We
would
went
just ring.
from, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but we had a business of female gym, 800 members, and we were reduced to 350. So we processed 400 cancellations. And some of it was the member themselves. And then some of it was like daughters and husbands that said, don't go in there because you're going to get
Yeah.
COVID
Yeah.
and die, So we processed a lot of cancellations.
Wives of doctors,
Yeah.
doctors
Just-
really
it
bought
was-
into this thing
Yeah.
in a big way.
I would say it was somewhere around Easter of 2020. I went, what's going on here?
Us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not right.
Yeah. It had when it first happened, okay, we'll do what you say, because we never slowed down.
We got
In
busier.
fact, we got busier.
Yeah.
And because we're essential, we're considered essential.
Right.
Thank the Lord. Because when all the talks were coming, my uncle is also a silent partner for the business.
Yeah.
We're panicking because Murphy was considering shutting down everything, including essential, and just giving it to subsidized companies like PSE&G to do all the plumbing work,
Yeah.
which I think is their goal anyway.
Right. Feels like it, doesn't it?
Because
Yep.
I don't know why they hate small business, but anyway. So we were essential, thank the Lord, and we masked up, gloves, face shields. We sanitized our trucks 1 to 2 times a week, all the tools. And then 3, 4, 5 weeks went by.
That was
Nothing
about
was
Easter,
changing.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And we're like, this is BS. What's going on? Now, I didn't want to minimize people who got COVID, got really sick, because my mom got really sick from COVID. She lost her hair. Her hair
Yeah.
started falling out. So it's not like COVID wasn't a real thing, but especially in the health industry, if you have, like, they were encouraging people to stay out of the sun, stay indoors, not go out and exercise, which is how you defeat disease
Yeah.
in the first place. Like, who are these health people?
That's what I always said, is that instead of encouraging a healthier lifestyle, people encouraged,
Yeah.
a more unhealthy lifestyle, to get vaccinated, to stay indoors, to not go to gyms, not exercise. I didn't hear one person talking about eating healthy
Yeah.
or eating right, or like I said,
of that.
exercise, nothing. So
It was,
Well-
it was a big fear mongering, tactic.
yeah.
That time period, particularly the first 6 months, it was, and we're not alone in this. I mean, as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you have, all of your investments in your business,
Yeah.
right? So literally watching it evaporate.
I know.
Constantly asking the question, what is going on
Right.
here?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Was
And what do I do?
absolutely crazy,
Yeah.
and
You know?
there was nothing we could do about it. We had, once we did open up again at the health club, we had our local representative in, and we took him through the health club to show him, look, we can operate. Like one of our things at the time was get us in front of the governor, and we don't want to beat him up. Well, but what we want to do is
Try to make nice and
try to show him and educate him. Look, we can operate. We don't have
Yeah.
to be, and look at the people that are coming into our health club right now. They're here because they want to be here. And the people who aren't in the health club right now aren't here because they don't want to
Yeah,
be
they
here.
don't
So
feel
let,
safe.
Let the people make the choice.
Right.
That's kind of our underlying current with the Go Big Small Biz Network is we're pushing back against legislation, but underneath all that, we're really trying to educate and communicate to legislators. Stay out of small business.
Yeah.
Let the marketplace determine how business is going to operate. Entrepreneurs started businesses by waking up in the morning, rolling up their sleeves, and saying,
Yeah.
"I think I'm going to make a widget, and
Yeah.
I hope someone buys it."
Yeah.
If not, I got to come up with another business.
That's what builds a nation.
Yeah.
And for some reason, our legislators just don't get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you might be full-time legislators. Do you know? We are. So we have full-time legislators. Places like Texas are part-time. So that's not always
yeah.
a great thing
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because then they have more time.
Oh, yeah.
To make stuff up.
And
Right.
and I think New York is one of the higher paid ones. I'm not sure about New Jersey, but our legislators are paid $100,000, about $100,000.
Now I want to
So
clarify.
they don't want to lose that job, do
No,
they?
not at all.
They want to justify that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they come up with these things to justify their job.
These insane
Yeah, they figure
things.
they have to write a bill so that when they go to get reelected, they can say to their constituents,
this.
"Look
I
at
did
what
this, I did that.
Versus, wouldn't it be nice if they found a way to unwind things and
Yeah.
say to the constituents, look at how I've streamlined and
Yep.
simplified state government.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify, though, that because we can, including me, get a little carried away with saying that our legislators don't get it. There's a lot that do.
Oh, yeah.
There's
yeah.
a lot of really good people in our legislator body, in our elected officials and appointed officials.
They don't have an easy career, though.
They
that's for
don't
sure.
have
No,
any.
they
They're
don't.
fighting the same fight we're
Yeah.
fighting. But what we have found is, by and large, the majority of I'll say the good ones, have probably run a business before.
Yeah.
They've signed the front of a paycheck.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Matt Briette from Commonwealth Partners, that's his line. I have to give him credit every time I say it.
Yeah.
He said, unless you've signed the front of a paycheck,
Yeah.
you can't possibly fathom what it's like to operate a business.
No, absolutely not.
You might understand a lot, but you can't
No.
fathom the depth of what
Yeah.
it means to put your head on the pillow at night
100%.
and wonder if you're going to make payroll that next Thursday.
Listen, I worked for a pool company before the plumbing, before I took over the family business. And I had a lot of respect for my boss. But, we would all sit up in the shop and gripe about how he's doing things. And, he doesn't know. Oh, he's not buying us this equipment.
I do that with him.
And he does that with me now. He'll learn one day. Don't worry. One day you'll. Now, when you wake up earliest, you're working the most. You're trying to keep everyone happy. You're trying to give good raises. You're trying to make sure that there's work there. You go to bed exhausted. You wake up in the middle of the night out of a nightmare because you think, oh, I didn't take care of this. There's no way you can know until you put your feet on the ground and have the responsibility on your back of a company.
Yeah.
There's no way you know. And when you said that part-time versus full-time legislators, the part-timers, they're out there working as well,
They have to work.
and that's
Yeah.
why they understand. There's probably mostly part-time legislators that really understand the
I
fight.
didn't even think about that. The
Yeah.
part-timers need to work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. How did you start off in fitness? How did you guys start off in fitness? And how long ago was that? You did. Well, he looks like he's in good shape. That doesn't seem fair. No, I'm just kidding.
This just happens.
Just wake up like this. How did you start
I've
off?
always had an addiction
Yeah.
to it.
Were you an athlete?
Yeah, through high school and
What'd you play?
soccer and basketball. I'm
Oh, yeah.
5'2", but I still played basketball, and I am from Freehold, so that meant Tom's River, Manasquan,
Oh,
now
yeah,
Marlboro.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
where we played. Red Bank. That's kind of who we played. But yeah, I've always been in it. And then when we got married, I kept going to the gym, and he's like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why don't you just become an instructor?" And so I became an instructor, became a personal trainer, and I've been in it with the kids. We have 3 boys, and it was
wow.
a great career to have
Yeah.
while raising children. And then as, one left the nest, I worked more and I became a personal trainer. And that's kind of how it all worked out.
Wow.
I still never miss a workout,
Really?
including this morning.
Good for you.
I wish I
It's-
could say the same
it-
thing.
And I still never miss her missing a workout,
She wakes you up to go to
including
her
this one.
workout.
Yeah.
Including this morning.
This morning she's like, "How do you feel about getting up?" I'm like, "All right."
She invites you every time, but
Yeah.
you tell her it's not going to happen.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's clear that, a lot of Western cultures are struggling with health. I mean, I think there's a meme going around where there's the headshots of all the ministers of health in the countries, and they're grossly obese, and they just, so if those people are leading the nations in health, and you have small businesses owners who are actually healthy, they know nutrition, and they're getting shut down, and these people are saying, no, we know better.
Well,
I
you
mean,
mentioned about people that are making legislation that have never signed a paycheck,
Yeah.
that never knew what it's like to sign a paycheck, to own a small business, that are writing legislation for that. Same thing with the health ministers. People that aren't healthy are
Yeah, we
writing,
have seen that, haven't
you know?
we?
Well, this is
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
this is largely what's happening in our state government. Is there is a whole body of legislators that think that their idea is, I was talking to a senator out of Pittsburgh a couple of months ago, and he's the one that's told me. He said they just think it's a good idea. It's theory.
Yeah.
And And I think what I'm noticing, and we haven't talked much about this yet, is
He does that all the time, by the way. I never know what he's going to say.
he's
We haven't talked about this yet, but
I know that's the male brain. We have conversations with you in
yeah.
our head,
Okay.
and we think that you
and I'm
know
like,
it.
oh
but
my gosh, what is he going to say?
you'll be all right with it.
And we're married 34 years.
Yeah. It's their theory that what they're thinking of for a bill is good for the people. And in many cases, maybe it is good for the people. But what happens is if it's not good for small business and you put small business out of business, well, then it's no longer good
Then
for
it's
the
no
people.
longer
Yeah.
exactly.
So we're trying to close that loop with them, get them to understand some things. And, unfortunately, they don't seem to care a lot. But what we're here for is to keep fighting that fight and see what we can do to stop some of this legislation, which I think we've played a role in a couple of things. We're still new on the dance floor of the political navigation, right?
a good
but
way to put it.
But every little bit counts. And if we don't fight it, if someone doesn't fight it,
Yeah.
then maybe it'll just slip right through.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, even the smallest amount of pushback sometimes can send big waves. I've seen it. There were a lot of. I was at several anti-vax forced vaccine. Listen, if you want to get vaxxed, no problem, do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Go do what you want to do. But I was at a couple demonstrations, peaceful, obviously. Everyone, there were good conversations. People were coming up. There was good debate. Nothing crazy. But the simple fact that there were people there offering something different than what everyone was fed through TV, social media, and all that stuff, just that little bit sends ripples down, and they grow and they grow and they grow.
Yeah.
I mean, all through history, when you have oppressive regimes or laws or stuff like that, a lot of people stay silent for a long time, and it sometimes really only takes one. And I know that sounds cliche, but sometimes it just takes one person in a community.
One person can make a difference. Speaking of the pushback, so as you mentioned earlier, just a little bit of pushback can make a difference. Our legislators have told us that when they get one email or one voicemail or one letter, they actually count it as 30.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying that if one person's thinking it, then 30 people must be thinking it. So what we're kind of armed to do as an organization as we build our network is we have a push notification that'll go out to people's cell phones with the letters already written. All they have to do is hit submit, and because we have their zip code, it's automatically going to go to their representatives, so that we can literally launch hundreds of emails, texts, or phone messages into our representatives' inboxes.
That's awesome.
And what's really powerful about that is our relationships with legislators who are opposing the bills that we're opposing. We can give them that same ammunition that a representative that's for a bill, and they can literally say on the House floor or in a debate, we know there's hundreds of people that are against this, our constituents and your constituents.
Yeah.
The other thing that happens that is a reality in politics is a Republican or a Democrat is not going to vote against their party line in the House.
Right.
Okay? Because if you do, well, you get slapped. It's really like childish games. They take their staff away. They put your office in the basement.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's
just
ridiculous.
crazy.
It's
But
ridiculous.
if that same legislator that's being called to vote for a bill, vote for their party line, can go to their leader and say, I have like 100 emails here of my constituents that are opposed to this. I need permission to not vote for this. And literally get permission from their leader to not vote for it. This is reality. What happens behind the scenes. We've seen it. Tracey and I we're in the gallery as much as we can to watch what's going on.
Were you guys ready for this?
No.
Like ready to take this on?
Like I said, we tried to not do this 4 times.
I mean,
Phil, aren't we called to occupy?
you're right. I get it. Listen, I understand.
We can't sit back.
No.
Right? There's a book, Eric Metaskis did a book on
yeah.
Bonhoeffer
Yep.
and how churches watched trains go by
Yep. Did you read that
write
book?
it. I have not, but I listened to him a lot. And the point of that is they stood by and did nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to do something.
Yeah.
We have to do something.
I have.
And we can't retire and just do,
Yeah.
we have
Of
to.
course.
We have to occupy.
And we have we have 3 other small businesses that I own and operate.
Oh, okay.
And, I've got a staff of, I don't even know right now, I think it's about 15 employees, and it's all marketing,
Yeah.
And,
I gotta pick your brain later, by the way.
The question for my team was, I'm going to go do this. The name of our marketing companies is Wakeen and Company.
Okay.
Right? And Wakeen's on the face of Go Big. We're going to get backlash. We're going to get attacked. And my question to them is, how do we feel about how that might have an impact on our other businesses? And really, particularly for my leadership team, was like, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So far it's been good. We haven't had any repercussions of it. But I think to Tracey's point is, most people are saying, what can I do about it? Because I'm just one voice. Or are afraid to step out, particularly in the church as well. We're the church. We're not going to do,
Oh my gosh.
and we just felt the call that we're going to step out, and we'll put on the armor every day and do what we're called to do and stand up. I mean, for it to not come with opposition would be silly to think like nobody's going to press against us. But we're sticking to the facts. We're sticking to the issues. We're sticking to what's straight down the middle of.
I'm getting the language you're putting out. Trust me, I understand.
Yeah.
I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor.
Okay.
But you are 100% right. And here's what I talk to my dad about all the time, and not to get religious and everything, but
we will.
we will. It's
okay.
It's what we're going to do. But when a church is supposed to be discerning, and they're supposed to understand and really have a good basis on, what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is BS. And when a church decides to just go with the flow and not be discerning, that's when, because I think, especially in the West, a lot of culture is built around the church. We didn't have a lot of social programs. People went to their church back then. The church has really become like a side accessory almost. Yeah. And when you see in most cultures, when small business, even in like a third world nation, if it's someone who's just farming and selling at market, or someone like us who's building a gym or building a plumbing company, when you have the entrepreneurial spirit and the church starting to not be discerning or fight for their rights, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a ticking time bomb at that point.
We've got a great church here that we go to, and our lead pastor and that leadership team are very much not shy about speaking the truth, which is real refreshing,
Yeah.
My church really dropped the ball on. They pushed it as far as they can go, even when the state said, okay, you don't have to do that. Yeah. No, we're still going to, we want everyone to feel. It's like, guys, wake up.
Yeah.
It's the love of man and acceptance of man.
Oh, 100%.
So
Did you leave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, he said, I told you. He's like, I told you so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we got saved, though.
It was the Lord sifting, right?
Yeah.
Sifting through.
So it is about taking a stand. It's about standing up for what's right and at what cost.
Yeah.
The cost is the cost. Look, Chick-fil-A closed on Mondays and their business went
Sundays
rather. Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays and their business
They're
went
beating
through
out
the
McDonald's.
roof.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
They're beating out McDonald's.
So it's really a question of what do you believe in? Are you willing to stand for the truth?
We just had them last night.
Yeah. What's that?
The new honey pimento chicken sandwich.
Really?
Phenomenal.
Really good.
It's so good.
Where'd you stop?
In East Stroudsburg.
After I
closer to
found my
Stroudsburg.
wallet. After I found my wallet, we stopped.
He grew hungry.
So we got to get Chick-fil-A to
Search for his
sponsor this
wallet.
podcast. I mean,
Listen, we kind of when I recorded my shop, I kind of try to turn certain brands toward the camera, so hopefully, like
Coca-Cola bottles.
So we have two little dogs that hang out during the podcast. They're actually the face of the company.
maybe we can get Wakeen and Company in this one then.
Oh, listen, absolutely. I mean, which is okay. There we go. But we try to strategically product place, so hopefully a purple mattress will hit us with the dogs that sleep.
I
on
always
it.
ask people about their logo too. How'd you get that logo? How'd you come up with that?
So my last name is Wakeen, Wakeen. And when I started this business, I came across the reality that most things in business and in relationships start with a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I turned my E's facing each other to represent a conversation happening. And
Well, you really are a marketer.
yeah, and the be intentional part is part of our mission, purpose, core values, which is, to be intentional about what you're doing. Like,
That's great.
Like, what am I doing and why am I doing this versus just doing it, because there's no purpose in just doing it,
Yeah.
and unlocking true potential in business. I mean, that's those values trickle right through Go Big Small Biz,
Right.
Because those values and those principles are who we are, and it's not about putting a plaque on the wall, that says mission. We don't even have that. It's
Right.
part of our DNA. It's
Yeah.
part of who we are. When we go to meet with legislators, we're going in with a very specific agenda, if you will, or key points of interest, one of which is we want them to know who we are, what we're doing, and the second of which is how can we support them. We want them to know that we're not just coming one-sided on the field here. It's like, what are you up against, and what can we support you with?
That's a good point, because legislators and people in small government, they're probably bombarded on both sides of the aisle. They're beat up every day.
Once we tell them we're here as friends, they all of a sudden they sit back.
Right.
The walls
Take a
come
deep
down.
breath.
Tracy's really good at
I
that.
know.
She
We
leans
come
over.
in peace.
Yeah.
And they go, okay.
Okay.
Well, Tracy's got that
That's
look
good.
that'll put you at ease when she was.
She can be disarming. Yeah.
He comes in like this. I'm like,
Yeah.
we come in peace.
It's
a good cop, bad cop
Good cop,
routine.
bad cop for what? You said 24 or 34 years?
34 years.
Yeah. I just want to get to it.
Yeah. You just mellow out for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great team, though. That's a good team right there.
Yeah.
I think what you guys are doing is just unbelievably important.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you about the animosity you receive. I mean, how is it? It's got to be an uphill battle, because you look at the majority of the population really just went along with it, and everyone who kind of fought against it, especially when we were in the middle of it, was like a pariah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, locally, I don't know if we've felt a ton yet, except for the members that when we were going through the whole shutdown, there was a lot of animosity. They kind of blamed the small business.
Oh, yeah.
It was like one day you were fully respected as being a business owner,
Yeah.
and then the next day you
You're
were
criminal.
hated.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so it was
when
like
you're a
my
small
fault that it was happening.
When you're a small business owner, you're rich, right? You own.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's
yeah.
easy. Like,
Yeah.
and that was the perception of the members
Right.
at the health club, was like that we had all this money, and why are we closing their club? It was their club, not our club.
insane.
Yeah.
It's
Why are we
insane.
closing their club down? In terms of the messaging and getting out into the community with what Go Big Small Biz is, there really hasn't been much pushback. There hasn't been a single business owner we've talked to that said,
Oh, yeah.
what are you doing? You're crazy.
Yeah.
The challenge is getting the business owner to join the network and understand that our strength comes in numbers.
Right.
When we can have a couple thousand members pushing back against legislation, and here again, our legislators have told us you can make a difference. The perception of the individual is there's nothing we can do about it. The reality is there's actually something we can do about it, which is why we formed this organization.
There's
so
something
that-
only you can do about it. you know?
But you got to be willing to put your name on it. We have some sponsors that have helped fund us to get this lifted off the ground. That say, listen, I'm going to give you a check, but keep my name out of it. Now, some of those areas I respect, because some of those people get state government contracts, right? So they don't want to put their business
Right,
on that, but
right.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
That person as individual part of the network, with that push notification,
Still contributing.
will still be contributing and helping to solve the problem that we're having here, particularly in Pennsylvania and in other states. I mean, right now, there's like 20 bills on the table. That what you learned just the other day?
Yeah. So we do have a lobbying firm,
Okay.
and we meet with them every other week, or they text us and say, hey, there's a hearing, go down. So we were able to go to the Clean Indoor Air Act bill. I don't know if you're familiar with any of that.
No.
New Jersey in New York might already have gotten rid of all smoking in casinos and
Oh
restaurants.
yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
So yes, that happened as well, but there were some
Well,
loopholes.
I think New Jersey, like if you go down to Atlantic City, they have a smoking section.
Correct,
section
in
for
the
that.
in the casino.
in the casino. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
They still
casino.
have
So
it.
they want to get rid of all of that. And I'm not saying I'm for smoking.
Right.
It's just that these casinos have built, these cigar places have built,
Yeah.
Yeah.
these bowling alleys have built outdoor spaces, and now you're saying, I'm going to take a
Tracy heard it. Tell them the testimony you heard of
the
the
bowling
alley.
alley. There was a testimony from a bowling alley owner who said, I just put $500,000 in an outside patio for my smokers. And now you're saying,
Yeah, they're clients too. I mean,
Right.
I don't smoke either, but they're clients too.
Yeah.
and now
And they
you're telling
generate
now you're going to tell me that I can't
Well, here
have that
again-
much for smokers.
Yeah.
So and I
You
don't
can't even have an outdoor area.
and out it must I don't know how the bill reads, but it must read. It has to be there has to be something about that. So I haven't read the bill
House
completely.
Bill 1657.
Cigar places also, New York. I'm not sure about New Jersey, but the cigar guy moved down here from New York because PA tax free on cigars. I did not know that.
Oh wow.
So we are a friendly on cigars.
Wow.
Bar
So
cigars down here.
Yeah.
they moved all those places move into Pennsylvania, and now they want
And now they want to bust chops.
Yeah,
Right.
and here again, I want to just point out, it's not about whether we agree with smoking or not. I mean, we're not
yeah.
smokers. We
Yeah.
don't agree with smoking,
Yeah.
but it's not our business to
Right.
tell a business
Right.
whether they can have smoking in their
Yeah.
establishment or
Exactly.
not. Because if I don't want to go there, because there's like I don't go
Keep
play
your laws
blackjack
off
at
my
the
business.
casino because there's too much smoke. So
Right.
that's my choice,
Right.
You know, but it's the casino's choice or the bowling alley's choice to make
Yeah.
a decision. Do
That's
they
half,
want
I bet that's half their business. You know, if you go to a casino, it seems like it's split 50-50. And it seems like there's more on the smoker's side than on
Yeah.
the non-smoker side.
And meanwhile, the hearing
So-
Yeah.
that Tracy witnessed had a couple of employees testifying that employees have to wear masks to keep away from the smoke and it's uncomfortable. Go get another job.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Sheets pays pretty good.
If you're
you know.
coming into Pennsylvania or New
Exactly.
Jersey, you know that they're smoking inside a casino.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that if you like to be a dealer, that's what happens. That is
Yeah.
the case of what it is.
Yeah.
So and there's just other crazy stuff like no auto inspections in PA. There's a
What?
potential memo out there. It's on a bill yet, and it's a senator out of the Scranton area, and he said no more inspections because he believes that all of the cars are new.
He said most people are driving new cars anyway, so why?
That's
have
insane.
inspections?
So
Oh, that's
immediately, what do you say? Oh my gosh! What about all the garages that make?
Yeah.
I don't know what the revenue is. It could be 50% of the revenue is in inspections. It could be 30, whatever it is. There is a percentage of revenue
There's
that
a
they
Yeah.
get from
Yeah.
inspections.
Yeah, there's-
So that would desecrate small garages.
There's something
Even
like 80,
dealerships.
Something like
Yeah.
80% of cars that go in for inspection. Don't quote me on the 80%, but it's a pretty significant number. Need something. They need
Mm-hmm.
new tires. They
Yeah.
need new brakes. They need new wipers. They need
It's a
something.
safety thing.
Yeah.
And then
As well.
there's the safety issue
Yeah.
of not having inspections, and then there's the insurance issue.
Yeah.
So if you don't have to have an inspection done, you don't have to prove insurance.
Right.
So now, how many industries are we ripple? And this is what
Holy cow.
this is what I'm saying. Like they're not thinking of the downstream
No.
effects
No.
on any of these bills that they're
At
writing
all.
At
You
all.
you guys down here, you guys don't do government inspections? Like you don't go to like a state
Yeah,
inspection
we have
station?
like
state inspection
inspection
stations.
stations.
No.
So
it's-
our garages are certified for state
Certified. And our car
Gotcha.
dealers. I just had my car inspected at the car dealer that I bought the
And
car.
dealership.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, from that came a recommendation of a couple of service items they were recommending on my car. I didn't need them to have inspection done, but now I'm making an appointment to
Yeah.
have that done. So what am I doing? It's a local car dealership. I'm spending $1 in that dealership. And when you, local economics is when you spend $1 in a local business, it turns into $3 in your local
Right.
economy.
Right.
So I'm happy to, A, service my car so it lasts longer, and B, put money into my local economy.
Yeah.
But without that inspection, I would not have known that my car needs these other two services.
100%.
The notion that most cars out on the road are new anyway is insane.
Yeah.
It's
That's the
insane.
most insane thing I've ever heard. Most
He's
cars
got a background in cars.
Well, my father is a car dealer, and all he does is sell used cars,
Yeah.
Toyotas and Hondas. He goes,
Yeah.
most of the cars on the,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the stats on it, but I guarantee you most of the cars on the road are not new.
Yeah.
You know, like you go out to the Midwest. I've been out to Iowa and Minnesota and
Yeah.
all those areas, and people are still driving cars from the 90s, you know, from the 80s, you know.
Wait till
Old
they
cars
start
that
putting
still-
that on. Like all your cars
Yeah.
have to be electric by
Go get
2030 or whatever.
Yeah,
it
that's
may be.
never.
gosh.
I
Can you
always tell
imagine?
people it's never going to work. You
Let's
have
get
to
some sound bites
change.
from your uncle on the
Yeah.
inspection sticker.
Well, what
Yeah.
they're doing,
It's
this is
crazy.
actually, it's funny that you brought that up. So they're trying to kind of hollow out plumbing by taking away a lot of inspections for things. And our infrastructure, especially in Bergen County, our infrastructure is teetering already. Okay. Now you want to listen, plumbing is the most expensive trade, hands down. It costs the most. We have to be the most educated, stay current with continuing education. We have the most liability because I can set your house on fire and not know it because we're using open flame, we're using pressurized water. The amount of insurance payouts if plumbing goes wrong is astronomical. And what's happening in California is insurance companies aren't even doing new policies anymore because it's insanity out there. And New Jersey is trying to follow suit by getting away. See, most people think small business wants no regulation, but there is some regulation that's beneficial to industries and individuals
We want
alike.
people to be licensed.
Yeah.
You know,
they're
you need
trying
to be
they're trying to get
licensed.
rid of a lot of jobs
You know?
that you don't require a license. You don't have to necessarily be a plumber to do this, or you can just do a mechanic's permit. And we're looking
What's
at
the
each other.
advantage
Of being licensed?
of not taking that away?
So here's the thing.
I know. And there's
This is
always
tricky.
something. I'm like, what is it?
Here's the thing. There are not many new plumbers coming up. It's mostly immigrant workers that are coming up. And in New Jersey, they get a lot of grants to start new businesses and stuff. And there's not many plumbers, licensed plumbers coming up that were born in this country. So they're trying to make it easier to get plumbers in. And I mean, our industry is getting taken over a lot by,
Well, all
I
the
don't wanna
plumbers, all the current plumbers are leaving our area.
yeah. they're
Like
just-
most of them are boomer generation. Okay, there's not many younger people coming up.
So they're retired.
And they're retiring or moving down to South Carolina or Florida or whatever. And what was the stat? For every seven
every
plumbers
7
that
to 10.
retires, 7 to 10 plumbers that retire, there's only one new
That comes up.
taking his place. And there's nothing but more work because you get people
Yeah.
moving in and out all the time and new buildings being built and
But here's the problem. It's been a snowball effect because they took out all auto shop out of high school years ago. So they haven't even motivated kids to get into it. And now we're here with this conundrum. And to solve the problem, you just deregulate the industry, which gives us, it's going to destroy our business.
it's a good and bad though. It is a good and bad because we get a lot of calls from people who went with the cheaper guy, the guy who doesn't know what they're
Yeah,
doing,
that
the
is
one who's
true.
not licensed, and
Then they call
we need
you to come fix it.
Exactly, they call us to come
For cheap.
fix it, and they want
Which
it
is
for
not
cheaper,
happening.
but it doesn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that.
We can't do it.
You're getting charged more because now I have to fix his problem plus
we got to
the
rip
problem.
out what he did and
Exactly.
then put in it right.
So there's a new organization here in Pennsylvania, a good friend of mine that I'll introduce you to. It's called Black Line.
Okay.
And what they're doing is they've set up and they've recently gotten accredited educationally with the state of Pennsylvania to bring electrician trades through their training process to encourage the trades. I mean, you're going to start to see some organizations popping up that are
Yep.
trying to get kids out of high school
Yeah.
into their training programs because there is becoming an increasing demand for an alternative for college.
Yeah.
College isn't a bad thing. It's
No,
just not
it's
the
not.
only thing. It used to be you go to high school, you
You go to college.
get your 4 years degrees,
Yep.
you get your master's, and then you go get a job. And that
I
is
mean,
shifting.
Well, there's been so many kids that have been pushed into college that college is just not for
Yeah.
them.
Well,
It's
they also
not.
have these people. They don't. I don't want to say that they don't have skills, but people go into college without knowing what they want to do, and they come out without skills, and they have to get a job in a field that they didn't graduate with anyway. You know. So, and I think I always say this with my friends. I said in the next like 10 to 15 years, I always think that the new trend, like people on TikTok and people on social media, will be like the new way to make 6 figures is going to be through the trades.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Mike Rowe's a great guy that really pushes that. He's always been, and he's got a really good podcast where he talks about it, and he does live appearances and he does talks and stuff, and he's respected. I mean, and we need people like you guys, your organization, like what we're doing, even though it's petty and small. Like we talked about it earlier. It takes just one act, one person to do one thing, just to start getting the ball rolling. Yeah. And you can make a lot of money without a college degree.
Yeah.
You can support, you don't need a college degree to have this life, which is basically what society's been telling us for the last 20, 30 years. It was 30, 40 years ago, everyone said, go to high school, get out and get a federal job, go work for the post office. And that was the new thing, but that didn't work out very long. What is the term going postal is a term for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you guys can look that up on your own. We're not going to talk about that here. But
we have a plaque in Ridgewood for going postal. Yeah. There's a statue in Ridgewood going postal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But now we need people in the trades. We need people to become entrepreneurs. We need people to take the risk. And, and I think the tides are slightly turning. I mean, would you guys agree that they're right now in the past 5 to 10 years, maybe that they're slightly
more
turning?
awareness that there's more options out there, and college is getting so expensive, which I don't really understand. It's just kind of like I just heard this morning, gas in California $8 a gallon.
What?
My friend lives out in California, and he sent me a picture in the height of COVID. Yeah. Gas was $8 out.
So I don't understand some of the inflation. I get why inflation happens, when but some of this is just a little. I mean, come on. Why is it sometimes gas is $3.75 here in Pennsylvania, but you cross the Maryland border, it's $3.25?
Yeah.
I mean,
because we like to tax our gas.
Yeah.
It's tax rates. It's also what do they call them? The stations that filter gas.
Yeah.
What are they called again? It's not distilling stations, obviously, but we reduced the amount
ethanol,
of
pasteurized.
The ethanol
pasteurized gas.
The ethanol gas, which is really bad for automobiles. In engines. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
At any rate, so we digress a little bit, but
you know what I'm going to do? I'm kind of looking over your shoulder on this stuff. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
And then I want to come back and I want to go through this checklist you have here, because I'm looking at it, what you guys do, and then I want to talk about some of the laws that you guys are fighting. Yeah. Which is going to be really interesting.
That'd be great.
But all right, folks, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. I appreciate you listening, and we'll be right back in a few minutes.
Here's the situation. We have a big bias towards big business, and it's a big problem. Not only are there many factors giving big business the upper hand, but small businesses barely have a voice, or maybe they just haven't found it yet. From March of 2020 to December 2020, $3.4 trillion went from small businesses to the elite. Why? Government shutdowns, mandates, and overreach. These overreaches had such a negative impact on small businesses that 26% of small businesses had to close their doors. Together, we believe we can give every business the freedom to thrive, and we have a plan on how to do it. The Go Big Small Biz Network is made up of real people who work hard to serve their community like you. We are uniting and mobilizing the power of a small business and entrepreneur network in America. Isn't it time that you were supported by other real people and professional advocates? We are building an online platform designed to update you in real time on policies and legislation being enacted that will directly affect your business. Monoliths like Target, Amazon, and Wells Fargo easily buy the attention of our nation and our public servants. We believe it's time that we join the game, but we can only do it together. As our coalition expands, our buying power of our media network spreads this information further and further, always aimed at doing one thing: protecting the interests of small businesses. This is not opinion journalism. This is information leading to action. We leverage radio, TV, billboards, and hyper-local media to expose the truth, giving every business the freedom to thrive. Monthly membership allows access to a huge library of resources and funds this advocacy communications movement. So that's it. That's the plan. Create governmental transparency by way of strategic media network communications, giving a big voice to small biz.
We're back with Plum Buns Podcast. We're here with GoBigSmallBiz.com. They put out little coasters here, but we'll give you guys some media and stuff. But we're here with Tracey and Jeff. Thanks again for being here. First half was a blast. We learned a lot actually about legislation, so I think we're cruising right along here nicely. But I want to start off by, you have a checklist here. You don't have to go by this checklist, but let's start off with exactly your purpose, what you guys do, in 2023, post-COVID world. You know, it's a crazy world right now. So why don't you walk us through that a bit?
Go ahead, you do a great job.
Okay, so we are an advocacy group for small businesses. We are literally exist to protect the best interests of small business against legislation that's really bad and harmful to small business. Our purpose is to unify and mobilize an entire entrepreneur network of entrepreneurs and small businesses. And as a unified network, we create leverage to influence change. You know, when we have the numbers of businesses in our network, you literally create leverage to influence change. And so the lane that we're in is strictly business issues. Mm-hmm. We're agnostic. We're not all Republican or Democratic or independent, or we don't get involved in any social issues. We don't get any of that stuff. It's a business issue. And when a piece of legislation or a memo or something's being proposed, and we get that and we see how this is harmful to small business, then we're going to push back against it. We're going to fight hard against it, because 46% of our country's economy comes on the shoulders of small business, and 90% of the businesses, well, it's like 99% of the businesses in the country are small businesses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking to preserve small businesses, because without it, we all become beholden to the big businesses. Exactly. We become a two-class society, and I don't even want to go down that road. But we're here to represent and fight small businesses so that really the small business person can focus on their business and run their business. We make it easy for small businesses to understand, and we communicate to small businesses what's happening in legislation so they have a high-level view of it, and we make it easy for them to mobilize through our push notification software so that their voice can be heard in a larger way in state government.
Now, you're focused generally on Pennsylvania. You're not really out of Pennsylvania yet.
No.
But the goal is to go national.
Yeah. I mean, I see 3 to 5 states in 3 to 5 years, and then from that, more of a national footprint. I don't know that this is the kind of thing we need in every single state, but to have a national presence.
Yeah.
And then, so really, ultimately, we want to be able to, right now, influence state government. I think our next move is to get down more into local government.
Right.
You know, township commissioners, even school board, encouraging people why it's important to get on a school board, different local positions, and then into the federal space.
Yeah.
But right now we're really focused on state government, Pennsylvania. We're looking at maybe adding another state next year because we have a lot of activity down there, and
Right.
it wants to happen, but we don't have the bandwidth or the funding right now
Yeah.
to make that happen. But yeah, no, we're ready to roll.
Pennsylvania's huge.
It's a big enough state.
Yeah.
There's 1 million businesses in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
that's...
I don't know if you know this, but during the pandemic, 26% of small businesses went out of business.
In Pennsylvania or
In the country,
nationally?
nationally.
In the country?
And because of government overreach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I mean, we saw it. We saw it in our area. Well, everyone saw it in their area.
Yeah.
But you could just see the boards going up and the closed signs going up permanently, not just for
Restaurants
COVID,
didn't
but
open back up.
Yeah,
But
and
that's
we're
it.
part of that statistic.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually lost 2 of our businesses,
Yeah.
the health club and the consultancy.
I tell you, Dave Portnoy, who runs, that's his last name, right? Runs
Yeah.
Barstool Sports.
Yeah,
He did a lot of videos when COVID came out, and he goes, if I worked 20 years for my business and it was just shut down like that, like I wouldn't even have the drive to go on.
Yeah.
Or start again. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Well, that's why he started that thing. He also started like a small business funding group where he would fund a certain amount to a small business during that time.
yeah.
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 Aren't
You
they
heard-
trying to him now?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Something?
Oh, he's under attack.
Yeah.
He's under attack.
You can't
absolutely.
speak out.
No.
You're not allowed to speak out.
How dare you? How dare you?
One of my ultimate dreams, actually, as this organization becomes large and funded beyond what it needs, is to start a small business incubator and get these young people into business that have a desire to run a business, but give them all the business acumen and
Yeah.
education and marketing to be successful. Because a lot of people go into business without even knowing how
Oh,
to
yeah.
read a P&L
Yeah.
or
Oh,
a
yeah.
balance sheet,
Oh, yeah.
and the importance of these things. But that is a future thing that I'm really excited
That's a
about.
big problem in the trades. Guys who are very mechanically inclined are not business inclined.
Yeah.
And they're great techs. They do phenomenal work, but as soon as you give them the responsibility to kind of run their own thing, it crashes because the business know-how is not. You have to have a mindset.
Yeah.
And I heard a statistic that it's mostly C students who come up in our business. They start their own
wow.
business because they don't fit into the mold.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the best students. They're not, they're always daydreaming or doing their own thing. And it's the C students that come up and they're mostly the entrepreneurs.
I want to touch back on what he said though, but I think it's important that I know that we're all you're fighting for small businesses and current small businesses, but what you said is touching on encouraging younger people to get into it, giving them hope and incentives and reason to get in and create their own small business instead of just working for somebody, because I think that's been dying off a lot too. And a lot of people, and I'm not saying that you guys are you, but you focus on your business and you focus on the people that have it in the now. And I think it's very important to focus on the people that are coming up because that's
Future.
going to be
Future.
exactly the
Yeah.
future because that's what's
Yep.
dying off. Like the trades are dying off. It's younger generations are not being encouraged to open their own business. I think it was Elon Musk say, why can you take out a $30,000 a year student loan, but you can't take out a $10,000 business loan as an 18-year-old?
Right.
You can take out all this money
great
for
point.
for
Yeah.
student loans, but you can't take out this money to start your own business.
Yeah.
Which I think we people should start to encourage more too.
Yeah.
Stop playing drums.
Oh, sorry.
He's a drummer.
Yeah.
He's a drummer and it vibrates everything.
Yeah.
Actually, these stands will absorb a lot of it, so you're not too bad.
Yeah, knock it out.
You're good at it. We'll do it.
But
There is one point that you haven't hit on that makes us different.
Just one.
Well, well, the fact that you actually saw us
yeah.
on
Yeah.
a billboard.
Oh yeah.
Which
So
is-
we're a
Totally organic. This
we're,
whole thing.
We're a marketing company. When you really get down to it, because my background is marketing and I have marketing companies, this is about communications, right? It's communicating and bringing awareness to a community
Yeah.
of what's going on in their state government.
Right.
So, I don't see any other Chamber of Commerce, NFIB, Manufacturers Association, any other organization out there, not a single one,
Yeah.
putting billboards up, running TV and radio, letting their community know that these things are happening in their state, local government. That's our biggest issue, I
Right.
think, in our society, is that there's one narrative out there. You know, we talked earlier about the church. You know, it's really the Republicans, okay, the silent majority needs to get off their knees too and start making a stand in things. But a lot of the majority doesn't even understand what's
No.
really going on in state government. So if you really look at what we are underneath it all, we're a marketing machine.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a couple times invited on some local radio stations to talk about some I was just on last week with WHP with RJ Harris. You're welcome, RJ. You know, talking about the Clean Air Act and talking about
Right.
other issues like minimum wage increase. You know, the
So-
big one that's happening now that absolutely has me a little lit up is the 40-hour work week being reduced to 32 hours
read
for
that
the
on your
same
website.
40-hour pay.
I was reading it to him, and I was
Right?
like,
I mean, I'm not sure.
I didn't even hear about this one.
You haven't heard this?
No.
This is a big
There's
deal.
another one that this is the stuff that we want on TVs, on billboards,
Yeah.
and the other one is what was I looking at? Oh, the 20-week.
20-week leave. Yeah. I read that like
mandatory,
jaw dropped.
mandatory pay family
There's
leave.
52 weeks in a year, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you do that? How
I
does
thought
a
you guys made a
business-
mistake on the website, and I was going to ask you about it, but I was
20
like,
weeks.
So here's the thing, right? Here's a legislator saying, you know, we need to give our people the opportunity and the time they need to grieve, and you do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not against any amount of paid leave, but
Right.
again, let the business determine.
Exactly.
You know, I had a new employee a couple of years ago start. She wasn't in the door 10 days. She had a heart attack. And she was concerned about her job here. And I said, listen, you just take care of yourself. Now, look, we're a small business. I don't have a policy on this stuff. But it was my choice, my decision, to give her as much time as she needed to get healthy and heal again so she can come back into our organization and be
Yeah.
the kind of rock star that she
Yeah.
is, right? So here again, I always come back to let the business decide how the business wants to operate and let the community decide, let them vote
100%.
with their feet,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to do business with you
Yeah.
or I'm not going to do business
Yeah.
with you. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And so most of these issues that we look at, so I think it's a harebrained idea in the first place to think that you can reduce the work week from 40 hours to 32 and get the same productivity. They're claiming that this is how Europe does it. Well, we're not Europe.
Right.
Okay. We're the United States of America.
Right.
And if it takes 40 hours to make 40 mufflers, you cannot make 40 mufflers
Yeah.
in 32
Yes,
hours,
yeah.
let alone impose
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
pay, costing the business owner now 20% minimum, 20% more increased cost to produce the same product, which then causes inflation because now my muffler has to cost more.
Yeah, that was insane.
You know, and we were at a hearing, and it was around the minimum wage. I mean, we're bouncing around a little bit, but the increase of minimum wage, we literally heard one of our state representatives say, quote, and I quote, "I don't care about the business owner."
Yeah.
Yeah, they care about the employees because they're the ones making the owners rich.
Right.
Now, that part's not a quote, but that was what was
But that's
inferred.
implied. Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's, yeah, I mean.
We're going to bounce again
Yeah.
back to the 20-week paid leave. That is going to be an employee tax.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's not even talked about. Guess who
No.
gets to pay for it?
the
So,
employer.
so
Yeah.
you might think, oh, that sounds great. I
Yeah.
can get
Yeah.
20 weeks, but you yourself are going to pay for
Now
that.
I've got FICA, I got state tax, I got local tax, I got, right? I'm going to have a new tax in my paycheck.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And that's how it gets paid for. So
Now,
they're not
who-
talk. They
who
don't talk
wins?
about this
No.
stuff,
So
right?
who wins?
Nobody.
They do.
Actually, your big business wins.
Oh, yeah, you're
Because
right.
your big business already has probably
They have
8
the
week-
resources.
Well, they already have the 8 weeks off or whatever. So now they are paying that out of their big
Yeah.
business. So now they don't have to pay that anymore
Right.
because their employees will have to.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
business wins
Every time.
every time.
And it's probably, you know, I mean, I'm hypothesizing, but it's probably driven, or I'm speculating, I should say. It's probably driven. That bill is probably driven by the muscle of big business.
When you uncover a lot of legislation that was passed during COVID and even even a little bit past COVID, you saw a lot of big business,
Well, it's lobbyists.
big corporation was like,
that's
yeah,
who buys
let's do
out.
this.
That's who buys those
So let me
politicians.
jump on that lobbyist.
Yeah.
And then yes.
That lobbyist point is really important because the big companies, they have lobbyists that are in there fighting hard for big business or for their independent. You know, some of these big businesses have like 20 lobbyists. You know, but small businesses can't afford a lobbyist.
No.
And that's another reason we formed the Go Big Small Biz Network.
Yeah.
Is so that you can become a part of an organization that has a lobbyist. You know, you have the founders, Tracey and I, we're as active in the Capitol as often as we can be, but we also have a lobbying firm fighting on our behalf. And, you know, that's a big benefit to small business.
I told my uncle about you guys on our way back. I said, yeah, I called them. I called them. I said, it sounds interesting to talk about on the podcast or even get more information. He's like, wait a second. So they solely just go out and like protect small business. There's nothing like this in Jersey. Nothing. We're all fending for ourselves.
Yeah.
Nothing.
We're coming.
You probably do have the NFIB.
Yeah. I'd have to look into
But
that.
they don't do what we want to do.
Right. Yeah.
But I do highly recommend looking.
Here's
Getting into
the
it.
We do
other
fight for you.
Here's the other thing about the communications piece that makes us uniquely different as marketers. The only people that know what's really going on in state government that belongs to the NFIB are in Pennsylvania are the 13,000 members that belong to the NFIB.
Right. Yeah.
Out of millions of people.
Right.
Right. The only people that really know what's going on in state government are the people that are involved in state government.
Yeah.
The only people that really know what's going on in the PA State Chamber or the Harrisburg Chamber are the people that are associated with the chamber. And even at that, it's a small percentage of them that really know what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So that's why we're in kind of like this mass marketing mode. Like, let's just let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, why would I do TV and billboards when we're focused on small business?
Right.
Because I need our communities to understand. Like, we're encouraging Sally Jones that lives on Laurel Lane to join our network, even though she doesn't have a business.
Right.
Because what she's doing is she's supporting the small business community.
Yeah.
And the more voices we can get, the more texts and emails sending off to our senators, that's where we build
That's
leverage.
huge.
Can
Yeah.
you tell he gets very excited about the marketing part?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it all. I see the design aspect that you got. Like
Yeah.
all
One
over the
email
place.
equals 30 emails, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it
And
is.
don't get rid of that billboard. I'm
Big deal.
telling you.
We're going to have some more going up.
We just had another one.
Her vision is to have billboards laced up and down the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I mean, think about that artery, right?
Yeah.
Of a state. You know, we've got 2 up right now that are and thanks to some of our partners in our marketing side that are, you know, and I call the billboard company. It's a small mom and pop company. They've got like 5 billboards on the turnpike. They have a couple of vacant spots. I said,
wow.
hey, if I send you a vinyl, would you throw us up there? And he just emailed me the other day. Would be glad to do it.
Nice.
So they're really a lot
That's
of what we're
awesome.
doing right now because we're in startup mode. Are billboard companies like Kegaris and Lamar are actually just donating space to us.
That's
and
great.
giving us opportunities to gain exposure. Some of our TV stations are giving us airtime. Some of our radio stations are giving us
You know what?
airtime.
That just has to be encouraging, if nothing else, too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We can actually talk a little bit about marketing, because this all goes hand in hand.
Sure.
So I didn't go to school I did, but I didn't do well in school. All right. I didn't finish school. I didn't go for marketing or anything like that, but you can attest to this. I have a bit of like a marketing drive. Okay. Like branding is super important to us. We work hard on branding. The podcast, we work hard on marketing and branding, even the design of the logos and everything. I think all that is very important to be consistent in your marketing and branding. And I think we talked about this before we were on air, but we have 2 little dogs that ride around with us in the plumbing truck. So they go to each job. And my dog is the pug. And everyone knows what a pug looks like. And a pug is like the quintessential plumber face. I mean, they just, for some reason, you look at a plug and you think
That's
just
what I
plumber.
told him.
Yeah.
I said he wanted a lab.
I wanted like a black
He
lab.
wanted a lab, and I
when was
said,
looking
"No,
for a
this
dog.
is."
He's like, no, this is the dog for you. He had a pug. He had a pug that he couldn't keep. And he's like, I know you're looking for a dog. Do you want to take this little pug for the weekend and see if
looks
you
like a
like her?
plumber.
And I'm like, what the heck? She can't even get in and out of the truck by herself.
She's breathing funny. I don't want this.
Yeah. Her nose is lodged in her skull. What am I supposed to do? By Sunday, By Sunday, I was in love with this dog.
I came back. I dropped her off for the week. I dropped her off Friday. I said, "Here, you're just gonna take her." He goes, "I don't want her," and I just left. I left her there, and I left her there.
She's standing outside with a little suitcase out my door.
I left her there with some dog food, and I said, "You're gonna love it. Don't worry about it." I drove off, and I come back Monday to work, and he's there like with her dressed up. She's got outfits, and he goes, "I think I fell in love with
Baby
this thing."
carrier, like a little chest baby carrier. It's the funniest thing. Yeah. But we utilize the dogs in that. They're all over our social media. Yeah. She's going on our logo. You know, a dog is a very easy way to brand. And when we have other businesses on, I always ask, what's your marketing like? What's your branding like? How are you pushing that? You know,
the mugs.
Yeah, this stuff. And with marketing, it feels like that's really where, I don't want to say that's where your heart is at, but that's where your mind is at, for sure.
Yeah.
And did you graduate with marketing or did you?
Nope.
No, nothing, right?
Nope.
It's sometimes just in people.
Yeah.
You either have it or you don't. I believe you either have it or you don't. It's a talent that you have or you don't. You cannot become good at marketing.
Yeah, the truth of the matter for me is I know good marketing when I see it. I know bad marketing when I see it. I've got a team of people that are really good marketers. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the one that comes up with, like the go was this go big, this idea about it's go time.
Yeah.
Go take action, go. Came out of my chief strategist here.
Okay.
And this little arrow into the zero, like this motion of go.
Yeah.
It came up in a strategy meeting. She's the one that came up with it. And then our designer put some look to it. And
I'm going to play the images over this part, so they'll see exactly what we're talking about. But this is just so you know, that's the logo they're talking about.
Never deviated from it. And so, that is our brand.
Yeah.
It takes a while for a brand to take hold.
Yeah.
We've only been out in the marketplace for, about a year. So, we're not expecting, this huge brand recognition, but we are getting seen. We are getting recognized.
100%.
Individually, we're getting seen at different functions and organizations. I had a legislator, I was on the western part of the state last week, said, well, you sure do get around, don't you?
Yeah.
I said, well, we need to get around.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our job right now. We got to get around to get this word out.
I mean, I'm sure it's exhausting.
I'm going to tell you, it's life-giving.
Oh, that's actually really cool to hear.
There are times when, yes, I mean,
that gives me hope because I'm exhausted all the time.
The pace we're keeping is exhausting, and our society is exhausting us. And yes, I mean, I think by and large, America's tired, Yeah. But this is life-giving when we're doing it because I think there is hope. I think when we learned that we can actually make a difference, then it was like, okay, this is game on then.
Wow.
Let's go. Because
that's awesome.
We can make a difference.
I think that attitude is just, it fires up people that you guys touch in your lives.
Yeah.
When you're at a function or whatever. I could tell when we walked in, I mean, you have so much energy and you were ready to go off the bat, just start talking right away. That's important. And when you have we have to go to a lot of continuing education functions and stuff like that. And you're just sitting there listening to this guy talk
Well, it's important to find we switch schools, and it's important to find people, educators, because you guys are educators too,
mm-hmm.
Technically, and people who are passionate about it. When we switched schools, we went from a very dull, sorry, I keep tapping, dry, boring school to a teacher who I can honestly say
he loves what he does.
Re-inspired, Not that school is not fun for us still, but it became a lot more interesting. With our new teacher.
And he'll put out, and this doesn't, this is two totally different industries here, but he's firing up the younger generation to come up and say,
neat.
Yeah.
And he'll talk about branding. No other teachers in trades are talking about branding. They're talking about wiring and how the water goes and all that stuff. But he's saying, listen, you guys should think about service plans. You guys should think about service contracts. You guys should think about branching out and doing this, And that's firing up guys to actually get into the business because we have an issue where plumbers, and I said it before, they'll come up, they'll open a business, and they have no clue what they're doing. And all of a sudden, all the taxes and fees and the insurance that you have to get, not knowing your numbers. And he's very big on knowing your numbers on your operating costs. And that's lost on a lot of blue collar guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to touch base on the marketing and branding, because I think for any type of business, I don't care if you're a stupid little deli. It's important.
It's really important to have a brand, and that's one of our 3 pillars. So our 3 pillars are advocate, educate, and communicate.
Yeah.
And the communicate piece really is about what does the brand stand for and what does it communicate to our legislators and our communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And educate's an important part. So we're getting into our legislators and we're trying to educate them on, no. This is actually how a small business is run. And this is what you're going to do so minimum wage. I'm just going to jump on that for a second.
Sure.
They want to take minimum wage from $7.25 an hour in Pennsylvania to as high as $15 and $21 an hour. Okay. Their position, them over there, their position is that by raising the minimum wage, you'll make Pennsylvania more attractive for people to come work here. No, there's no research that says anything about that. Their position is that we're devaluing our workforce by only paying them $7.25 an
There's
hour.
always an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
There's nothing concrete
Right.
or tangible to put their
Just
hands
emotions.
on.
We feel that this is what it would do.
It's all an idea. It's all their thought, right? And
Ideologues.
I'm waiting for the opportunity. I was at a function a couple of weeks ago, and the Speaker of the House was there, and she was boasting about minimum wage. And boy, I just wanted to raise my hand and say, so what you're saying is, by raising the minimum wage, you're okay with putting 6% of small businesses out of business. Minimum of 6% of small businesses in the state of Pennsylvania are paying minimum wage. You raise it to $15 or $21 an hour, they're done.
You were going to say something?
We heard during that hearing, we heard our acting Department of Labor speak on this and said, well, let's do the math, because it really needs to be $38 an hour, which ends up being $72,000 a year.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that way a single mom could also afford daycare.
So they want it to be more than an entry level. What I think they're missing is the idea of minimum wage.
Are you okay?
I just.
No, it does. It's nauseating,
It is
isn't
nauseating.
it? And you just want to say, what the,
Yeah.
right? Like, you take the entire pay scale
Uh-huh.
and you end up sliding it up because now the person making $15 is going to want 21, right?
Right.
So you're taking the single largest line item of a small business's budget and you're doubling it.
See, they create the problems to begin with, and then they propose solutions that will create more
Right.
problems.
Right.
And you know what you said? Are you okay with 6% businesses closing down? They're not even afraid to say, yeah, we have no problem with that anymore.
I'm just waiting to ask the question
Yeah.
of someone and hear what their response
But I
is.
think you're right, Phil. I think that
There's no shame anymore.
they don't care.
Yeah, you hear some of these politicians and they say, yeah, that's fine for the greater good. The greater good.
Yeah.
And here we are,
Yeah.
back to the beginning where we started and where you guys started, for the greater good.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to tread lightly here, but that's a big problem. Legislators that are out of touch, and I'm sorry, I think there should be no full-time legislators. You can't be a legislator unless you're working or you own a business or you have to be. You can't sit up in your ivory tower anymore.
There's too many politicians, too many lawyers. There's too
We
many
have-
lawyers in that field.
So,
Well, I think the biggest employer here in the state is our state.
okay.
And that has to do, we were just saying, enough is enough. Like,
Yeah.
we have so much government
Yeah.
on top of us,
Oh, yeah.
and now it's the biggest employer, too,
Yeah.
as well. I don't know about New Jersey, but
I don't know about New Jersey. I do want to look into that.
yeah.
But that's
We have the unions in Jersey.
unions are
The
tough.
unions
Yeah.
in Jersey are
That's-
the biggest stronghold. You
Yeah.
have the teacher union. You have like
Teacher union
roads,
here, too.
all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
And they
why
really-
not?
cops. The
Why not
pensions
reduce
are.
the auto workers union
Yeah.
to 32 hours and then give them a 40% pay
Yeah.
increase while we're at it? I mean,
Did you see that up in Michigan?
I heard something about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that
you
was
say
about.
something?
I told him something about it. I mean, I have family out in Michigan too, and so I kind of keep.
He's always
up with-
and he's always keeping up to date on cars and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it's insane what they're asking for.
Yeah,
It's absolutely
it's-
insane. But-
And our senator here, Fetterman, went to Michigan.
Yeah.
and walk the picket line.
And
Gosh,
I'm
I
the
forgot
thing is
that you
like
said
I'm
it.
not
I forgot
Sorry.
that you said it.
Yeah.
and I'm not like
But he,
At least he can do it in comfort.
but he
Oh, right.
I mean, it's more than I can say when I'm on the job.
yeah.
So
I
do
mean, I'm
you,
not pro or anti-union, but it's like you gotta. There's got to be a limit to what you can.
Right.
Hold that question because I'll come back
You
to it.
can
But
ask,
our
yeah.
issue is one of our issues is we have PSC&G public service. Okay. Who was our female governor that we had several years ago? Todd Whitman? Was it Christy Whitman? She wrote into law where PSC&G was now able to start stepping on the toes of local plumbers. And what they did was they have one guy that signs all their permits, and they put out, it's huge. They're subsidized by the government, so we can't compete. They can do financing at 0%. We can't do that.
Because they're their own. They act as their own bank.
They act as their own bank.
You know, they have.
They
my
have,
goodness.
and so now plumbers have had to figure out how to continue function. Something in my eye here. I'm sorry, but we've had to figure out how to go up against this massive, subsidized, huge organization, and so we can't finance at 0%. They have one plumber that signs all their permits, and then their hundreds of thousands of workers can go up and do whatever. And now what they're trying to do is push out all the smaller guys and give all the business to this subsidized
Sure.
organization. And New Jersey, we're part of a plumbers association that's trying to fight against this, but we're all schmuck plumbers. We're all just blue collar guys.
Busy.
Busy.
Yeah.
Relentlessly busy. I have no free time. He has no free time. All the free time is spent doing this. But they have lobbyists, they have staff, they have crew, and they have the government's ear because they're subsidized by the government. They're subsidized by the taxpayer. I'd love to be subsidized by
That's
the
why
taxpayer.
Go Big has to come to Jersey.
Yeah, we got to get you there.
We'll get there.
I'm telling you, we're gonna push this really hard.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Do you remember what you were gonna say? I cut you off.
Well, I was going to ask you about 1099 subcontractor, the subcontractor environment, because that's something that's come down the Pennsylvania pike. It happened in California with the trucking industry, where you can no longer be an independent trucker in California.
Yep, you have to work for a bigger
And they're
business.
pushing that down here in Pennsylvania. They
Really?
want to eliminate the 1099 status. I think they're going to start with the construction industry. Don't quote me on that.
I did hear about a lot of California
know,
truckers moving to Texas.
because they want you to be part of a larger organization, so you're on someone's payroll. So now you're a W-2. So now I got some tax money.
Now you
coming
got
in. And I'm eliminating small entrepreneurial
Yeah.
business and putting it into bigger business.
I can't
And they
speak.
think this is a really good idea, by the way.
Could they think every idea
Yeah.
that they have is a really good
Yeah.
idea? I can't speak too much on that. I'm not too sure. I'd need to look into that.
Yeah.
For sure. But nothing would surprise me about California, not in this day and age.
No.
I mean, the
It
insanity.
did surprise me with $8 a gallon for gas this morning. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Their average is 6, but there's
I don't know how you live there.
I don't either.
yeah.
anyway. We shouldn't.
Northern California is really cool.
That's what I heard.
It's just an even
and they're
little guy,
like
so.
people say the state should just split because
Yeah.
they're so divided politically.
Well, we
and-
actually, no, not me and him. I drove through California. I did a road trip through California a long time ago with a friend. And we were driving through Northern California. We kept seeing signs, the state of Jefferson.
yeah.
And I kept seeing these signs, and eventually I looked it up, and the state of Jefferson is like the top quarter of California, and they have their own constitution where if California ever decides to secede from the United States, state of Jefferson gets to become the 50th state of
They're
the
ready
United
to go.
States.
They're ready.
So,
They're,
it's actually
they're
kinda cool, but-
disgusted.
Kind of cool.
That state's also very divided.
Yeah.
Very, very divided.
Even New Jersey, as small as New Jersey is, very divided. And I got to be honest, the populated areas of the state really determine the politics. But
It's like New York.
Yeah.
New York City and
Yeah.
Long Island determine everything for the rest
Philly.
of the state.
yeah,
Pittsburgh.
exactly.
Yeah.
Little bit of Harrisburg and Penn State, Center
Okay.
County.
Wow.
Those are our.
It's tough. And this is why when you guys decided to almost navigate for the small business, it's huge. This is huge because
Yeah.
the small business owner, when are we supposed to do this?
Yeah.
When are we supposed to figure this out?
I
When are
think
we
that's
sup-
It's a bit of the alarm bell that we're ringing right now, and
That's a good one to use.
It's really getting people to understand, small businesses and people in our communities, that I'm not trying to be prideful or bolstering
Right.
about what we're doing. I'm trying to say this is critically important.
Yeah.
This is more important than I think the average bear realizes, and people need to get serious about this.
Absolutely.
You know, I've gone to a lot of friends and business colleagues in the community and been able to have honest conversations. And I said, now, do it, sign up, become part of our network, and do it now. Like, I'll sit in front of them, make them pull out their credit card and get on the website and sign up. It's $19 a month, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's not a life-changing decision.
Right.
And it's also not a life sentence either. You know, but if we don't get a network that's sizable enough to create the kind of leverage we need to have influence, then things are just going to kind of keep rolling along the way they're rolling along. And here's the other point I want to make sure I make about the value of other associations, because, you know, your mechanical association, your electricians association, manufacturing association, you name it, restaurant, you know, some of our business colleagues say, well, what you're doing, I'm already getting from my association membership. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're not.
You're right.
Okay. Right. You think you are. You're getting great representation on business issues that are directly relevant to your industry.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're looking at the business issues that affect the entire community.
Right.
You know, the small business community and the local economics of our community.
No, there's no comparison with,
you know, even some of the chambers, you know, the chambers are getting fed from their lobbyists like the stuff they want them to get as it's relevant to their local chamber. And our philosophy is, look, you should belong to your local chamber, maybe even your regional chamber. You should belong to the NFIB, and you should belong to Go Big. These are organizations that are typically working hard on behalf of small businesses. Some of it doing better than others, but it's not a lot of money. And if you really want to preserve, you know, and prevent the extinction of small business, and I do believe it's at risk.
Yeah.
You know,
it is.
Then people need to get involved, and the way they can get involved is by joining our network and helping us create and continue the momentum we've built that will prevent some of this stuff from happening. It becomes pressure.
Listen, there's a consensus with every economist that will say small business drives nations.
Yeah.
It builds economies, it drives nations, it builds culture. There's no doubt about it. There's no way around it. You can say, oh, well, Walmart's hiring so many people. No. That's not they're looking at it from the wrong perspective. Small business, it's almost like when you want to make change. You don't go, like, everyone gets all bent out of shape with the presidential election. It's like, but they're not voting in their local election. You're not making a difference.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think the most important thing that you said was community. You're building a community. It's the most important thing because, and it's not just about the money. Like you said, it's just $19 a month. And I think a lot of people think, especially younger generation and small businesses think, I have to make as much money as I can. I'm just out here to make money.
Yeah.
But it's about building a community, because young people can make tons of money. You can make a ton of money. You can go viral. You can start TikTok pages, whatever it is, Instagram. There's a million different ways to make a lot of money nowadays, but they don't realize how important a community is, because once you lose that community, you lose the small business aspect, because you're not by yourself in a small business.
It's the power of the unified community.
Yeah.
And our ability to mobilize that entire community. Look,
people don't understand that power.
And we didn't have that during COVID.
In the shutdown,
We were
right?
in shock.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
If we had this community in place during the shutdown, we could have created our own strategy and taken our own action to reopen Pennsylvania in a way that the government would have no control over. Because there were some small businesses that stayed open and got arrested and they got fined.
Yeah.
Because as individuals, all they had to fight for was themselves.
Yeah.
But this kind of an organization would have had the leverage to have influence over, no, we're not shutting down, we're opening. Look, from March of 2020 to December of 2020, in just 9 months, there was a $3.4 trillion transfer of wealth.
I was hoping we would get to this.
Out of the small businesses into the elite businesses. $3.4 trillion. I mean, think about it.
That's insane.
I couldn't go to the local whatever. I had to go to Home Depot. I had to go to Walmart. I had to go to.
Yeah.
I had to order online with Amazon. Right. I mean,
Exactly.
It's,
COVID was really dangerous at Joe's Hardware, but not dangerous at Home Depot.
No.
It was fine.
No.
It was
Right.
fine there.
yeah.
Right.
Because
So-
for some reason the orange.
So to think
logo.
that can't happen again.
Oh yeah.
People are just, they got their heads
Right
in
here.
the sand.
It's right
and,
here.
Yeah.
It was
and-
almost like it was practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
what we uncovered during this time. We uncovered this Disease and Prevention and Control Act of 1955, which I understood to be a certain way back then, but I didn't have it completely right. And Tracey did some digging on this thing. And this is the very act that was written in 1955 that gave a single person appointed by our governor, the Secretary of Health, a single individual, the authority and the power to shut down an entire state
Insane.
without a board, without committee,
Insane.
without approval, just because at the time our Secretary of State had the single authority. I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
So I'm gonna read it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
go
read the
for
summary.
it.
So
Go for it.
And this is, I think, before you do that, I think this is also part of the communications piece, right? So we've reached out now to some Dennis Owens here. We've reached out to R.J. Harris. This stuff is going to start to come to the surface because Tracy's still digging and trying to thoroughly understand this Prevention Act because it's been re-lettered, it's been revised. She's going to share that with you. But our people don't know.
I didn't know that this closed us down. And
This was the
I
very
would
thing that
wager
did
to
it.
bet you guys have something too.
Probably.
You
Yeah.
probably do.
I looked in Virginia and they call it a code. This is an act.
And when I talk to people about this, they are like, what?
Yeah.
I said, yes.
Yeah.
A single individual has the capacity to shutter in millions of people.
A 70-year-old,
Yeah,
whatever
so,
it is,
I mean,
65.
Right.
tell
So
me what
it
you've
is
learned.
providing for the prevention and control of communicable and non-communicable diseases, including in 1955, they were concerned about venereal diseases, fixing responsibility for the disease and prevention and control, requiring reports of the disease, and authorization or authorizing treatment of venereal disease, and providing for premarital. Remember, you had to get blood tests, premarital and prenatal blood tests. So I asked our lobbyist, who's also an attorney, I said, okay. So there is some relettering that happened in here, but it was a good relettering. The relettering was on reporting and making sure the reporting was actually
Well,
staying.
it wasn't all good.
Well, it was.
Yeah, it's the no-brainer.
but was the now you just
You threw her off.
come on,
sorry.
come on. So anyway, there was some relettering that was going on. So my curiosity is the
Non-communicable disease.
What is that?
F-
is that cardiovascular. We look it up.
I don't know.
Not cardiovascular disease, kidney disease. So what is your cardiovascular disease? How could that shut me down? Then I started thinking, well, this is where all the conspiracy theory stuff comes, right? Because what if our Secretary of Health says Pennsylvanians have way too much cardiovascular disease? We're going to shut down meat.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So back in 1955, they put both those terms in there. Cancer is a non-communicable disease, right?
Yeah.
So I asked our attorney about it, and I said, "Can this shut us down again?" She said, "Yes." So I would love to see this, because this is out for the Secretary of Health could do it, which is not an elected official.
I'm going to put a link to that
Please.
under everything so
Please.
we can read it. But look,
But they have they could do quarantine you. You think
one person.
One person.
Is that part of the relettering?
No.
Okay.
So they can quarantine you, and they can bring you in front of a judge, and then they can find an institution of some sort to
That
quarantine
put you in that
in.
institution.
I was like, this. So I went line for line with her and said, what is going on here?
Wow.
Which is, do you remember those things about the camps? Did you hear they're going to put camps up? I'm like, that's where this stuff comes from.
Well, they did it in Australia. I saw those camps that they had.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Terrifying.
So one person could do this. Also in there is the powers of our governor. Now, our governor had 60-day emergency orders. Now, in May of 2021, we, as voters, went in and voted that out, and we put 21 days. I would suggest that 21 days is still a lot of time.
Still a lot of time. That could make or break somebody.
Right, for 3 weeks to shut them down. So I'd love to see some of this changed. I don't know how to change that. I don't know if we can change that, because I do think there is a law that says you can't go around harming people.
Yeah,
if you know you have a disease,
right.
you can't run around giving people that particular disease.
Not in California anymore.
Yeah, true.
I just don't.
True. But what was your question?
I don't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, I wanted to just say this out. Say the title again. Disease Prevention and Control Law of 1955.
Correct.
Act of April 23, 1956, 95. And I'll put the rest of the information up. I'll put a link to all that.
It'll come right up.
Okay. All right,
It'll
good.
come right up.
Yeah,
and then
but-
you could see that there are fines and things, but that was really more related to venereal disease at the time.
The scariest thing about this is it all comes down to one person.
Yeah,
It can come down to one ideologue.
That's our biggest issue with it. Is it's one person.
One person. And there's people, listen, there's people in here there's people that are in government now who are reviled by the thought of America and what we stand for and what we do. And there's a lot of people in our government that have positions of power who have these thoughts that they need to completely reconfigure who we are, what we are, our traditions and everything. And if someone like that gets that power, unfettered power, it's terrifying.
Do you know how many people in your legislation or legislators are part of the Socialist Party?
Who have like a toe in the water in the party, or fully submerged?
They're fully submerged. In
like a percentage?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm sure you have
no
it in
idea.
New Jersey because we have
100%.
it. We have it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't hear that.
30, 40%?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking.
Too afraid to look.
There is a little bit of that, right?
Yeah.
But we know we have.
100%. And like I said before, they're not even censoring that stuff anymore.
So-
it's like proud socialists.
So my question becomes about something like this control law of 1955 is, I would be betting, if I'm a betting man, I would bet you that 12 out of 10 people have no idea.
I had no idea.
I know that statistic sounds backwards too. 12
Yeah.
out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm making a point.
I was gonna say no, he
right away.
didn't click with me, but I didn't want to because I know he's smarter than me. But I thought maybe he's got something I don't know there.
Just making a point.
Yeah.
Because everybody I've talked to about this said
no
what?
clue.
The health
That's
secretary
crazy.
has the
I don't-
ability to shut my business down just like that. That's pretty scary.
I tell you guys are super, super important. We gotta get you guys national here. We really do. Or even just to start firing up,
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share? Any couple tidbits? I mean,
Could use
what's
a couple $100,000 to keep us going.
Oh, that case behind you. Open that up.
That's what we actually brought for you guys.
Did you? I wish.
No, I
Who's
think,
that guy? Mr. Beast? Mr.
yeah,
Beast that
yeah,
actually
right.
he just gives away money and that's
one
how
of
he
the
makes
things we're
money.
recognizing that is like any business, like any small business, it takes time to build, a business. It's taking us time to build a network because these conversations aren't just like you have it, people get it, and you go.
Right. It takes work.
We need a couple thousand people to become part of our network, which will give us the funding to operate.
Yeah.
Okay, back to P&Ls, right?
Right.
We need to be profitable so that we can keep our lawyers, our lobbyists, our public relations, our marketing. We don't get anything out of this. We're not getting paid anything.
Yeah.
Although I think Tracey should be paid at some point. She's the president of the
Yeah.
organization and she works really hard. But it's not about that right now.
Right.
And it's going to take us another year or so to build that foundation of that network. And so, we're just in the process now of building the network. And also just people are contributing to us on our website. There's a join now button, and there's also just make a contribution. Mm-hmm. I was at lunch last week when a businessman came up to me and said, I've heard all about your organization. It's critically important what you're doing, and we're just going to send you a check. I'm like, that sounds great. I won't tell you how much he said, but it was
Fair enough.
substantial enough for
Good.
me to go like, wow. And, that came unsolicited. It came through branding, reputation, another individual that supports us greatly. So, we're trying to bridge that gap right now so we can continue to keep this ball moving forward so that we can open up one neighboring state that we have in mind, maybe next year, and maybe another, maybe it's a New Jersey neighboring state that we can open up shortly after that. And then we start to have a different kind of leverage.
It has to, because it's not going to get better. It's not going to get easier. It's not going to just go away.
It's not. It's a constant fight. And it's not doom and gloom either.
No, you're right.
There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope here. We're not at all trying to put fear behind this thing. We're putting the reality of this is what the reality is. There's reality in politics. There's reality in the way the game is played.
It's a Game of Thrones.
And you're not going to change that reality, but there are some battles you can win, some battles you can lose. I mean, we were in D.C. with one of our congressmen. I'll just protect him right now, but on this whole debt ceiling vote, and he had two of his colleagues that were Republicans with him on voting against raising the debt ceiling. And at the 11th hour, they got these nice fat checks from the unions. And they changed their vote.
I know.
And he said, this is unfortunately our reality. So for us to not recognize what reality is in politics, you got to, if you're going to play on the playing field, you got to know kind of what the game is.
It's so despicable.
And you have to navigate around that game. And another representative we met, young man here in Harrisburg, he said the key to surviving all this is self-preservation.
Yeah.
You can't get all worked up about all this stuff.
Cannot be prideful.
You won't last.
Yeah.
You got to realize that this is a fight I can fight. I'm not going to die on this hill. And I'm going to go over here and we'll get results.
And it truly is a nonpartisan issue, because we know a ton of, where we live is a very blue area. All right. I have plenty of Democratic liberal friends and stuff, and they're affected by this too. And they're just as angry. It's really, it's really a
They kind of want the America back, don't they? They're like, I don't know what just happened.
Right.
Tell them to register Republican then.
Yeah.
But that's not always the answer.
Yeah, it's not. Well, we have, you know what? I won't talk about that. We'll talk about that off the air. It's not too risque, but still, I don't want to name any names and get anyone in trouble. But
I think the most important thing is it takes a village.
It does take a village.
It takes both sides of the aisle.
And they have a village.
Takes everybody.
They have. How many bills were proposed last week in a single? 66?
Yeah, there was it's just crazy. On a day, I'll see 66 bills.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
And these people
that's
are not reading
they
them.
do. That's what they
It's
do.
just creating
That's
more.
their job.
Yeah.
It's creating
And they're
more
like that thick.
government is what
They're
it's
just
doing.
books.
You know?
It's
Like what
insane.
you said before, they have to justify their jobs.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose those jobs because that's their job.
People have
And
to
they have to
start
justify
caring.
it.
They really have to start caring.
Listen, we got some fighters in this area.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy with that.
We've got your county's a real fighting
Fighting
I mean, there are
county.
some.
I love this area. By
There
the
are a
way.
lot of. I mean, like I said earlier, there's a lot of really good legislators.
Yeah.
And that are fighting, that are pro-business, that do get it. So there's a lot of that going on. It's just really Southeast Pennsylvania is incredibly blue.
Yeah.
Out west is becoming more and more blue. So we're looking to influence, change in those areas and support some of these. There is I would want you also to know about an organization here in Harrisburg called Commonwealth Partners. The CEO there is Matt Briette. And their singular function is to attract business owners who have signed the front of a paycheck that will stand in their right authority if elected, but to attract these kind of business owners to take an office in our state government. They attract them.
That's
they
smart.
identify them, and then they back them to elect them.
That's a great organization.
It's a great organization.
as well.
Commonwealth Partners here in Harrisburg. Look them
I'll
up.
have to plug him too.
Yeah, definitely
If that's
plug them.
okay.
It's a great organization.
I'm going to get a list from you guys
Yes,
of everything.
you are.
Yeah, we're going to get a list.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Listen, folks, this has been phenomenal. I have learned a great deal, and now I feel almost like ammoed, ready to go back. But I appreciate you guys. I'm so glad I saw that billboard.
Yeah.
This has been so great.
Me too.
Folks, gobigsmallbiz.com. Jeff and Tracey, thank you so much. We're going to put links to everything that we spoke about. You guys can follow it. Even if you're not in Pennsylvania, I suggest you sign up and join the monthly, do the monthly membership thing. But thanks again, guys. And we really encourage whatever you guys are doing. You have our backing. We're not big. We have me and him and two little pups that ride around with us. But hey, you got fans in North Jersey. I mean, we're going to push you. And when you guys are ready to expand in North Jersey, we're there for you. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
Great.
All right, folks, thanks for watching Plum Bums. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, pass it everywhere, share the reels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything. So get the word out there. We're trying to promote small business and entrepreneurs coming up, and that's super important, as you heard today. But thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next week.